This equation has four factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to zero, and that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. That's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. Well, good morning, and welcome to the second day of the Global Vaccine Summit. Last night, we had a great celebration of all the progress we've made in the global effort. We are much closer today to achieving the goal of universal coverage.
There are pockets, and significant pockets, of the country where vaccines aren't happening because of those, the anti-vaxxers, or whatever you want to call them, who have made significant headway in trying to convince parents they shouldn't vaccinate children. I was just looking at new data today from Orange County, California, with more than a few schools showing between 40% and 60% children not vaccinated.
You could say this is we're a victim of success.
Do you get mad about it?
I get more mad about the deaths we're not avoiding.
Through his foundation, Bill Gates has helped to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. Well, today at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, he announced that his project called CEPI, or the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, has $460 million. He sat down with CBS News to talk about how that money will go to preparing for the next great epidemic.
The idea is to take a new way of building vaccines that could let us develop in less than a year a novel vaccine. They're called DNA RNA vaccines, and so we'll fund a few projects to build specific vaccines, but not only will we get that, we'll prove out that these platforms can work, we'll understand the regulatory issues, and it gives us a chance of being able to respond in time when the next epidemic hits. I think an epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused, is the most likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths, and that it's pretty surprising how little preparedness there is for it. Today, the greatest risk of global catastrophe doesn't look like this. Instead, it looks like this. If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. We're not ready for the next epidemic. One that's come up for a long time is, as we make the world healthier, is the population going to get so big that feeding everybody and maintaining the environment is going to be impossible?
We're taking this data and we built machine learning and AI models to do two things. One is virtual sensor prediction. So we're predicting things like leaf wetness, evapotranspiration, and solar radiation. We use the data to customize the model for the farm, and we are getting very accurate results for each one of those.
These sensors use a new type of connectivity that's very inexpensive. It's called TV whitespaces. TV whitespace is unused bandwidth in between the TV broadcast channels. Governments are now allowing this bandwidth to be used to transmit data. More productivity means that they can afford school fees, save a little bit for a tough year. Climate change is going to make the farmer's job a lot harder. Without substantial change getting the greenhouse gas emissions down, we are on a path to large increases in the planet's temperature. You hear a lot about the progress in reducing the cost of renewable energy to make electricity. But generating electricity isn't the only contributor to climate change.
With the time you buy, by simply staying at home, we are increasing our stocks of equipment. We are accelerating our search for treatments. We're pioneering work on a vaccine.
I often talk about how vaccines are a miracle. They've saved millions of lives. But exactly how do they work? Well, they connect to the human immune system, which is itself really phenomenal. So when a germ gets inside and attacks your body, the immune system sees unusual foreign shapes on the surface. And then special cells in your body, called white blood cells, create antibodies that connect up. Then your immune system knows to go and kill this foreign object.
Does Bill Gates want to implant us all with 5G microchips alongside the COVID-19 vaccine? Internet users have accused the billionaire of deliberately spreading the virus in order to control the world's population using geo-localized 5G microchips. And celebrities haven't been immune to spreading the rumors. In May 2020, the French actress Juliette Binoche shared with her 300,000 Instagram followers the following message.
These are operations international finance groups, mostly American, have been organizing for years. They're manipulating us without wanting to sound paranoid. The vaccines they're working on are a part of it. No to microchip implants for everyone. No to Bill Gates' operations. No to 5G.
This is completely false. It's a conspiracy theory that's concocted from a deliberate mix of 3 separate initiatives.
What about masks? I think there are a lot of people in America who are confused about whether they should be wearing a mask. And in the United Kingdom, for example, they've scrapped that altogether.
Well, that's interesting. What is the downside of wearing a mask? I mean, it's got to be tough. You have to wear pants. This is tough stuff. These societies are so cruel. Why do they make you wear pants? I'm trying to figure it out.
We're very glad you have yours on.
It was reported at that time that you had a number of meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, who, when you met him 10 years ago, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution from minors. What did you know about him when you were meeting with him, as you've said yourself, in the hopes of raising money?
Well, I've said I regretted having those dinners. And there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead. So, in general, you always have to be careful. I'm very proud of what we've done in philanthropy, very proud of the work of the foundation. Well, the primary focus of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is to improve health equity. That's what Melinda and I picked back in the year 2000, where we first got going. And partnerships with companies like Pfizer have been key to the progress we've made.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has committed more than $350 million for the development of diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccines in the fight against the coronavirus. Earlier today, I asked Bill Gates what he makes of the results coming out from those early vaccine trials.
We don't know if these vaccines will work. We don't know if they'll work to avoid deaths. We don't know if they'll work to avoid transmission. Another thing is that cows and other grass-eating species have a digestion system that emits methane. And methane is a very powerful greenhouse gas. And so cows alone account for about 6% of global emissions. And so we need to change cows, just cows alone.
How are we going to do that?
Well, actually, of all the categories, the one that has gone better than I would have expected 5 years ago is this work to make what's called artificial meat. And so you have people like Impossible or Beyond Meat, both of which I invested in.
You eat it as well, or do you like it?
Absolutely.
You do. Okay.
You can go to Burger King and buy the Impossible Burger.
And, I've been pleased that the interest level in climate has gone up pretty dramatically over the last 2 or 3 years. It was about 10 years ago I had some professors come to me 4 or 5 times a year and bring other experts so I could learn, okay, how good are the models? What are the negative effects? What is the uncertainty? What are the positive feedback cycles? And so I've been on this learning curve, and that's the whole reason I started this nuclear power company called TerraPower was not to make money, and I've avoided that. But although the artificial meat companies I put money into, I'm going to make more from those than I lost in the other ones. But
a fourth-generation farmer in South Georgia raising concerns after Bill Gates became the largest individual owner of farmland in America. He's reportedly purchased more than 200,000 acres in 18 states. Well, Will Harris is the owner of White Oak Pastures, a farmer in Georgia. Sir, you have objections to Gates owning this land. One of your objections is you say he don't know how to use it. How do you know that?
Good question. And thank you for having me on, by the way, Mr. Varney. But yeah, I meant every word I said about Bill Gates' acquisition of farmland, and I stand by it today. I'm wholly unapologetic. But at the same time, I do regret that my comments were construed as criticism of Gates personally.
I believe that we will be able to avoid a climate disaster. Innovators now have way more funding than ever before. Private companies are making serious climate commitments.
Do you think that misinformation should be actively repressed by social media platforms? They should be making these judgments? Or are you more the view of an Elon Musk, that it should be more of a free debate?
I do think that people who own platforms have a role there, and eventually the platforms tried to play that role. It was kind of too late.
So do you have any advice for Elon Musk, as he buys Twitter, of what he should do on this?
Well, he actually could make it worse.
Let me put it to you directly. What do you say to the charge that if you are a climate change campaigner, but you also travel around the world on a private jet, you're a hypocrite?
Well, I buy the gold standard of funding Climeworks to do direct air capture that far exceeds my family's carbon footprint. And I spend billions of dollars on climate innovation. We're in Abu Dhabi in the UAE looking at a big vaccine warehouse. It's very modern. It's got a lot of great refrigeration capacity. Things are tracked very well. It's impressive to see millions of COVID vaccines all in one place, and think we're trying to deliver billions of these vaccines. So, should I stay at home and not come to Kenya and learn about farming and malaria? Anyway, I'm comfortable with the idea that not only am I not part of the problem by paying for the offsets, but also through the billions that my Breakthrough Energy group is spending, that I'm part of the solution.